Okay, so we all know the feeling, right? That little notification pops up, another software update.
Mm.
Do I have to? But you hit install anyway. Bug fixes, security patches, the usual. But what if I told you there's like a whole other side to these updates? It's not just about the nuts and bolts. It's about how you feel about the software.
Yeah, it's true. Like, remember when Slack changed its logo a while back? Everyone had opinions,
Right.
strong opinions. That's style, Even for a work tool, it influences how you see it. Software companies, they know this. They're really using design more and more to shape the whole experience, even in those little updates.
So in this deep dive, that's what we're going to unpack.
Yeah.
This whole hidden influence of style in these software updates. We've got some really interesting source material for this one. It looks at consumer tech, but also, enterprise software, which, let's be honest, most people don't think about style much there.
Right.
And it all starts with this story about a Galaxy Watch update. On the surface, it didn't seem to change much at all.
Yeah, the source material talks about this user. They update their Galaxy Watch, right, after pairing it with a new phone. And they were surprised by how much more modern the watch felt. Like, wow, this feels new. But when they dug into it, there weren't any like groundbreaking new features. It was mostly the user interface. They just kind of refreshed it.
So like all about the look and feel,
Mhm.
like giving an old house a new coat of paint.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting. Companies like Samsung, they're using these aesthetic updates on purpose. They want to keep their products feeling current and engaging.
It's fighting that upgrade itch we all get. Like, look, it's still relevant, even if it's basically the same as before. Kind of like you get a new phone
Yeah.
and everything seems faster, even if the specs aren't much better. It's that psychological thing.
Mhm.
But for style instead of speed.
Absolutely. And it's not just consumer tech. The source material makes this great point about how style matters, even in, enterprise software, the supposedly boring stuff. But a dated interface, it can make even the most powerful software feel like a chore.
Totally. Think about the software you use at work right now. Does a clunky interface make you less likely to use it, even if you know it's the best tool for the job?
It happens all the time, and companies are starting to realize that. Style is a feature that can actually drive people to use it more. The source material highlights some big companies that are doing this really well.
Like who? Give us some examples.
Well, Microsoft Teams is a good one. Think about how much that interface has changed over time. It went from like a basic chat app to this whole collaboration hub. And each time the design gets more refined, more intuitive, more visually appealing.
Yeah, and I bet that's not by accident. Especially now, with more people working remotely, a tool like Teams needs to feel inviting, easy to use. No one wants to spend their whole day fighting with a clunky interface.
Exactly. And then there's Salesforce, the big CRM platform. They've put a lot of work into modernizing their interface, moving away from that old school spreadsheet heavy look to something more visual.
Oh yeah, they moved to that Kanban style for tasks, right? And user surveys showed a 15% increase in project completion rates. So that's style actually making it work better, not just looking pretty.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the classic Microsoft Office. It's been around forever, but they've kept the UI fairly up to date.
Oh yeah, remember how big of a deal that ribbon interface was? It wasn't just visual, it changed how people used it. A huge shift.
And it's a perfect example of style as a feature done right. It actually improves the user experience.
So it seems even with spreadsheets and databases, a fresh coat of paint can make a difference. But is it all just smoke and mirrors? Are we being tricked into liking things just because they look good?
That's a great question, and one we'll dig into more in the next part of this deep dive. But for now, think about this. The next time you see that little update notification, don't just hit install without thinking. Look at the design changes, big or small. Are they actually improving how you use it, or are they just playing on your desire for something new?
Great advice. And a perfect segue to part 2, where we'll explore how style can be used to not just enhance things, but also to, well, subtly influence our behaviors and perceptions.
Yeah.
So welcome back to our deep dive. Last time we were talking about how a fresh look can make even, a spreadsheet feel better to use. But is there more to it than that? Making things pretty, I mean.
Oh, there's definitely more to it. It's really about the whole experience, how the software makes you feel, how it guides you even. Like,
Yeah.
think about those little animations when you refresh a page or send a message. They don't actually do anything, but they make the experience smoother, more satisfying.
Yeah, I get that. It's like driving a car. One with a jerky transmission versus one that shifts smoothly. You get to the same place, but the experience is so different.
Exactly. And that's super important now. We've got all of these devices and apps. They all want our attention.
And our attention spans are, what, shorter than a goldfish these days?
Right. So how do companies keep us engaged? Well, the source material says one key thing is style. Creating a sense of novelty, even if, the software is basically the same underneath.
So just rearranging the furniture, so to speak, that can be enough to keep us coming back.
Think about it. You get a software update, suddenly the icons are a bit different, colors are more vibrant, animations are slicker, it feels fresh, right? New, even exciting, a little bit. And that feeling, even if you don't realize it, it keeps you engaged.
It's that little dopamine hit. Makes you feel good about the product, like a mini reward for staying up to date.
Exactly. Companies know this, and they use design to tap into that. But it's not just about keeping you on the same product, it's about attracting new users too.
Right, because in the App Store, you're going to go for the app that looks good, even if maybe the old one actually works better. First impressions,
Absolutely. Imagine you're scrolling through the App Store, you see this app, clunky interface, looks like it's from the 90s.
Hi.
Are you going to download that? Probably not. You'll go for the one that looks modern, polished, inviting.
It's like judging a book by its cover, but for apps. A good design can be the difference between a download or, just moving on.
Yeah. So it's not just aesthetics, it's making something that draws people in. And as our devices become more part of our lives, that line between the physical and digital, it's blurring. Style is only going to be more important because it's not just about does it work? It's about, does it make you feel something?
Oh, okay. So we've established style matters.
A lot.
A lot. But how are they actually using it to influence us? What are the tactics?
Well, one thing is trends, just like fashion, minimalism, flat design. These things come and go. Remember when every icon had to look like a real thing?
Oh, yeah, skeuomorphism, right.
Exactly. Like the Notepad app literally looked like a notepad, but now it's all flat design. Clean lines, simple colors. And companies use these trends to make their products feel current.
It's giving your phone a makeover, basically, to keep up with the times. And if it looks like it's keeping up, it must be good.
Right. It plays on that desire to have the latest and greatest. But beyond trends, there's also personalization.
Like dark mode, accent colors, all that.
Yeah.
Letting us customize our experience.
Exactly. By giving you those options, you feel more ownership over the device. It's not just a generic product anymore. It's yours.
Like the difference between renting a car and owning one. You'll take better care of your own car.
That's what they're hoping for. Give you the tools to personalize. You'll invest more time and energy using it.
So it's not just making things pretty. It's about making them feel personal, which then strengthens that connection to the product. But is that manipulative? Is it a dark pattern?
It's a fine line. Some would say it's just creating a good experience. Others would say it's engineered addiction. That's something we'll get into more in the last part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're back for the final part of this deep dive. We've been talking about, style as a feature, how it's this big thing now, both in consumer tech and enterprise software. It changes how we see the software, even how we feel about it. But is it all just smoke and mirrors? Are we just being manipulated by these design choices? Or is there more to it than that?
That's a really good question. I think the answer is, well, it's complicated. There are definitely some good things about this approach. A good design, it can make software more fun to use. You're more productive, more engaged. And don't forget about accessibility.
Right.
Design choices, they can make software more usable for people with disabilities.
That's a really important point.
Okay.
Things like, high contrast modes, bigger fonts, clear navigation. Those can be huge for people with visual impairment. So it's not just about looking good. It's about making the digital world work for everyone.
Exactly. So when you think about it like that, style as a feature isn't always good or bad. It depends how it's done, what the company's trying to do. Are they actually improving the experience or just trying to make it feel new to keep you hooked?
So how can we as users be smarter about this? How do we not get fooled by just superficial changes?
Well, the next time you get that update, don't just click install without thinking. Stop and think. What's actually changing here? Are they improving things, making it more usable? Or is it just a new coat of paint? Read those release notes, look at screenshots, see how it affects you.
Yeah, be an informed consumer, not just for, the things you buy, but also for the software you use every day.
That's a great way to put it. And this is extra important at work, I think. Enterprise software, those decisions are big. Money, time, all that. A bad interface, it can be so frustrating. People get less done. They don't even want to use the new tools.
Yeah, but a good design, it can actually make people more excited about their work.
Right. It all comes back to style as a feature. Design isn't just how it looks. It shapes how we see things, even how we act. It impacts our whole experience in this digital world.
It's like that Galaxy Watch story from the beginning. It wasn't that the watch did anything new, really. It was that the new interface made it feel new. And that's powerful.
Absolutely. And that's something we all need to pay attention to as we spend more and more time online. The point isn't to hate all style updates, just to look at them critically with a little bit of healthy skepticism.
Well said. Software updates, they're part of our lives now. They're not going anywhere. But by understanding how style works, how it influences us, we can make better choices about what we use.
Exactly. It's about being in control of our own digital experience.
And that's a great place to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, into this surprisingly complex world. Software updates and style, it's more interesting than you might think.
Until next time.